Right.
Hello and welcome to the Rugby Chat podcast. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a podcast, a YouTube channel, a Twitter account, and also a website as well. This week we're going to be talking about Super Rugby, and don't forget to subscribe through your favorite podcasting app so that we come into your phone and through to your ears every single week, or in fact several nights a week now. Also, if you'd like to watch what happens behind the covers, the show is live on YouTube at 8 p.m. New Zealand time every Tuesday. You can also join the discussion on our 5 questions via Twitter. Just follow at DrivingMaul, look out for the questions and use #RugbyChat. And joining me this week, I have 2 old stagers, regulars. I'm not quite sure how to call them, best mates. And we'll start off in Hamilton, as it's closest to me. How are you doing, Sir Mike?
Good, man. Good to be here. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. So you've not been blown away yet? You're all good with the weather?
Nah, I'm fine.
Oh, you're a lucky man. It's a bit windy down here. And Ashwin, up in Auckland, obviously, where it is the big city where they don't let nature get in the way of anything. How are you doing?
Yeah, hot. Yeah. Hence, I've just got the Blues hat tonight. It's a bit too warm otherwise.
Oh, dear. So, yes, for those of you that don't know, New Zealand has got a tropical storm flowing through it currently. And luckily, it has hit a bit south of those 2 boys and landed nearish New Plymouth where I am. So it's all a bit windy down here. Hopefully, the house stays intact tonight and we're all nice and safe. So, as you said, Mike, let's get into it because I know you are in a rush. You have things to do. You're a busy man. And let's kick off with you then. With the Lions getting an early season win over their biggest rivals, the Sharks, is the Africa Conference already decided?
It's always hard to say, isn't it? I mean, I actually didn't watch the game, so can't really comment much on what happened. But no, I don't think so. Early doors in the competition, the Lions could have a really bad run from here on. So who knows what will happen, mate? I'd really love to see a team like the Bulls get up this year and maybe get back to the great team that they once were.
Oh, wow. Do we have, and let's head off on a tangent early doors, do we have then a Kiwi who actually rates John Mitchell as a coach? Is that what we're hearing from you, Mike? Because he is the man in charge now at the Bulls.
No. I just, out of any South African team, I would want to see, personally, I want to see the Bulls do well. But no, I don't really rate Mitchell as a coach. But hey, if he can coach the team well, I'll take it.
Cool. And Ashwin, did you get to see the game at the weekend? And do you think the Lions have got it all wrapped up already?
Well, firstly, it's just like, oh, come on, Chiefs guy not backing John Mitchell. What's that about? But I saw some highlights. Obviously, I needed the beauty sleep, so I didn't get up and watch it live. But saw some highlights. Look, I think when you look at the Lions over the last couple of years, they've started to build a good culture there. So the win from them is I'm personally not a huge surprise. I mean, they've had the change of coach and player personnel, but obviously they're starting to build something there. At the end of the day, it is too early to tell. And the reason why it's too early to tell, the big one, is that you don't know how injuries are going to impact you while you go along. It'll be a test of depth as to whether you're the team at the end of the competition.
Absolutely, and I think it's all a bit tongue-in-cheek. And this is one of the 2 big games that will that will decide the conference. I think the return fixture is going to be absolutely key. And one of the things the Sharks do have, and we saw in this, is they have 2 good fly halves. We saw Robert Dupree, and I'm talking about the younger one, not the father who's the coach, but they play pretty well. And then also we saw Cohen Bosch come on towards the end and play some nice rugby. Whereas with the Lions, they have Elton Yankees, and Yankees showed his experience and class during the game. He actually controlled it very well, good kicking, etc., and shows why he's been in 2 Super Rugby finals. But the backup to him is really kind of thin, and that's, as you say, if he goes down, the Lions become a totally different animal. Whereas The Sharks are one of those sides that got a bit more depth to them.
Elton's showing he's a really good Super Rugby player. He doesn't seem to make that step up to international, but that's another story. That Kerwin Bosch, be interesting to see how he develops, because there's big raps over there in South Africa for him. So, it'll be interesting to watch. I think Kerwin Bosch's development, we know what Elton Yanchis is capable of at Super Rugby level. He's got that experience over, 3 campaigns now with the Lions, where he's taken them to, deep into finals time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think if I with Bosch that in South Africa, there's definitely a feel that he's a bit small, a bit light as well, and perhaps suits more that fullback role rather than the 10 channel, which does get a bit of traffic down it. And we just on the live chat, we've got Andre on there. So happy birthday, sir, for last week. Good to see you having a good time with your family. And he says the Lions lack another 9-2. I think Coetzee was their backup 9 for the game. Yep, they again with Faf de Klerk having headed overseas to sell Sharks. We're starting to see the Lions lose some of their kind of players, and maybe this is their last chance before they kind of lose that depth in their team. We'll see how well they retain players. We haven't heard too much news of players heading overseas from South Africa in the same way we have in New Zealand, obviously. And good evening, Jack, who's just turned up on the live chat as well. So it's too early days to judge, but always good fun and games to throw those sort of things out there. And the second game was the Stormers downed the Jaguares. And did we see anything from the Jaguares against the Stormers to suggest they've progressed?
No, I didn't see the game, unfortunately. But one of the things that has been on my mind, this isn't really answering the question, but sort of looking at Super Rugby and with all the teams that we've got, and it's just like this Jaguares side and the Sunwolves, it's like, does this really fit? Does it really fit in the competition? And I don't think it does, and I just think we're both those teams are going to be in for another really tough season this year. And I know there's a few issues with the political side of rugby over there at the moment. So, I can't comment on that particular match, but just got a bad feeling about them this year.
Yeah, Mike raises a good point, I think, in terms of, it's still, how many seasons we had the Jaguares and the Sunwolves in the competition, and it still feels strange that, I was sort of thinking about 3, but it just doesn't fit. It feels strange. In terms of on that match, I think, again, I saw the highlights of it, but I think, again, that one's a real classic of 2 teams that we won't really know how they're going to travel this year until they've played a few more games.
No, absolutely. I mean, I did a chat last night with Ryan where we reviewed these games. So for those of you that didn't see Super Rugby, the Super Rugby games, check out the round 1 review that I did with Ryan last night. A good 40-minute chat. You can listen to it on the podcast or on YouTube, going through those 2 games. But the first game didn't feel, as Ryan said, it had a kind of pre-season feel to it still. Didn't really have the kind of intensity we expect and see from the Super Rugby games and in that one. And the Jaguares, again, discipline was a problem for them, but this time it was their front row rather than their locks who were picking up all the penalties. Creevy picks up 4 and another pot picks up another 4 as well, which is just criminal at this level of rugby. They did start to, it was, I think the other thing we saw in both games to a certain degree was you can't be playing rugby in South Africa at this time of year. It's just too hot. I mean, we can see Ashwin there, who is, for those of you watching on the video rather than the podcast, Ashwin's just in a singlet because, hey, even Auckland's too hot for rugby at this time of year already. So we are going to have that problem. Andre, who's on the live chat, was that has made point to me before that you're going to struggle to get your early season try bonus points, because it's just going to run out of steam in South Africa at this time of year. It's just too hot for the first 3 or 4 weeks. So in some ways, the Storm is going on tour now to Australia and New Zealand. Perhaps in some ways for them, they're escaping the heat, and perhaps it'll be good for them to get that trip out of the way. It's going to be interesting to see how the Hurricanes go this coming weekend.
Hurricanes,
because obviously they've flown out to South Africa. They've left the Hurricane behind. Oh, got it in there.
Boom!
Clang. Hurricane Gita has blown them away, and off they've gone across to South Africa. So they're going to get some nice weather. But you got to say, will the heat be too much for them in that game over there? I think they'll survive, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out for them. So going back to domestic matters then, this last week, New Zealand had its 4th rugby doping ban of the year. Is this just getting worse, or are the investigators catching up with the criminals just much better than they used to?
I don't think it's.
Yep. Sorry, go, Mike.
I don't think it's anything new. I just think that a few people are starting to get a wee bit braver in terms of the both the investigation, but also the media for reporting this, and they should be congratulated on it. No, it's not a new problem. The investigations are getting better, but I think part of that reason is the attention that's been drawn to it. So I think we haven't heard the last of this problem either, and it's I was sort of thinking about this earlier. If you're talking about a kid in college, I think we really need to think about the pressure that we're putting on our youngsters in college to be quote unquote professional bloody athletes. I mean, it's just ridiculous, It's no wonder that they're not necessarily forced into doing this, but they want to be the best. They want to be better than their peers, and the money and the scholarships on offer. It's no wonder this sort of thing happens. So it's a big problem.
I'll go the reverse. I think it's a media beat up. You just said it's four positive drug tests in what period we're talking about, sort of thing, and look, I'm not going to say it's not there, but it's down at club level. It's not up at professional rugby level. So, and you're not going to stop people doing stupid things. And again, this is there's a lack of information in the article, as per normal these days with reporters. I won't call them journalists because they don't actually do any investigative journalism. They just report stuff. So I'm just sort of thinking there's actually a lack of information there to sort of base anything on. And this is a kid playing some community rugby, as it says in the article.
I think that, as you say, the education of the players means that we're not seeing that the 4 cases have all been Heartland Championship or below. So we're talking, for those of you who are not Kiwis listening, obviously we have Super Rugby, which you've all heard of. We then have the Mitre 10 Cup, which is the next level down. And then the level below that is the Heartland Championship. The Heartland Championship is very much an amateur level rugby. So none of these guys are guys that you're going to ever see on TV. Well, except in New Zealand, where we do get some of those games on TV. But I mean, you're not going to see any of these guys at the Rugby World Cup or anything like that. It's definitely not at that kind of level. They've all been done for Clenbutermole. This guy got caught in a test. The 3 earlier in the year got caught because they got caught through illegally importing it from Australia on a website, and so I think it does. I think there's definitely an element of the authorities getting better at tracking these sort of things and working with other authorities like illegal importing of drugs, which is where the other 3 came in earlier in the year, whereas this one was a test, which it's quite surprising that they actually test down to that level of competition. But one of the things, and I've investigated this before, looking at it in the UK, is one of the guys there said that when you take steroids and you come off them, you retain 25% of the muscle gain that you've gained. Now, and that's once it's all been out of your system. So it's you can see definitely if you're in off season, you're not going to get tested. You can definitely see how players who've been told, oh, you need to bulk up, otherwise you're not going to make it. Why they'd be tempted to go down this route?
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned the fact that the off season, taking it in the off season, because obviously at a professional level, you're actually getting tested in off season as well. Mm.
Absolutely, I think, and as Mike said, I think this is a problem we're seeing at schools. They did some testing in South Africa a number of years ago that was anonymous testing, so it wasn't so the players wouldn't get banned or for it. And I can't remember what they came up with, but they came up with something silly like 50 or 60% of the tests came back as failed at schoolboy level.
Wow.
So anyone who sticks their head in the sand and go, oh, it's the skills, it's all the increase in size of players is purely down to better training and conditioning. Yeah, sorry. It just doesn't ring true to me. Not that I'm accusing any particular players at all, at any level, anywhere, of taking drugs. But it does look in my weedy body. I do wonder how they get into, how they get their big bodies. It just to me just doesn't compute.
You paint your brown and you can be a skinny Indian like me.
Oh dear. And the and I'll be talking more about doping on my Patreon exclusive show tomorrow night. So if you want to ask me any questions, then become a patron, and you can ask me any questions you like, and I will give you an answer on that show tomorrow night. So moving on, guys. With only 2 games in South Africa last weekend, does it feel like Super Rugby's even started yet?
Crickets.
Well, I know you two have both been watching crickets, because I've seen your comments on Facebook, and Mike, you've told us before that you've had to. Oops, sorry, I can't come tonight. I'm doing cricket commentary. So you two clearly have been involved in the cricket.
Yep.
And neither of you saw the full games, at least the weekend.
Full, no.
So are you do you feel in the rugby season yet, or do you think or are you still in pre-season mode?
No, absolutely straight into it.
Sorry, buddy. Did it twice in a row. My bad. It never. I'm sort of used to rugby starting and the coaching on the poor Black Caps every summer. So I'm excited for the weekend. It doesn't feel like Super Rugby's actually started. But yeah, so I'm just excited, and I think might be a bit arrogant of a Kiwi to say it, but Super Rugby doesn't really start until all the teams are playing. So yeah.
I think we can erase the arrogance part of it, because you mentioned all the teams as opposed to just Kiwi teams. So I think you're safe there. I think for me, it was a little bit of a, to use IT terminology, a bit of a soft start. So it's sort of like warming up into it. So it was all good. Didn't mind it. I'm nervous for the weekend. I thought, yeah, but we'll talk about that a bit later, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get off that in a second. We'll talk about what we're looking forward to next weekend. But it did feel like a bit of a soft launch rather than your big bang fireworks. Off we go. And listening to the South African commentators in the they were all very excited and very much, hey, right, it's off, we're going. But I think for those of us in Australia and New Zealand, it's definitely been a bit of a quiet start to the championship. The Storm and Take Warriors doesn't really get the juices flowing. Whereas the Lions Sharks was getting one of your big blockbuster games out of the way early, which is a bit. Andre says if Kiwi teams played first, South Africans wouldn't follow it either. Yeah, there's definitely this, and that's probably very true. There's definitely an element of when South African sides come over here, everyone goes, "Oh, how have they been going? Who are these people?" So I think there's definitely an element of people just watching their own club or their own side mainly.
One difference though for if the Kiwis team start first, it's, our games are on at 7:30 at night, which means that they're going to be showing in South Africa either at 6:30, 7:30 or 8:30, which is a time when you could actually be eating your Wheaties in the morning. Whereas for us to actually get up and watch a South African game, you're actually waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning to watch a game, which isn't likely to happen unless you're living in Browns Bay, which for all the international listeners is where the South Africans live in New Zealand. So, yeah.
Well, in Auckland, at least. I don't know, Mike. Where's the South African enclave in Hamilton? Is there one down there?
Pardon?
Where's the South African enclave in Hamilton? Because I know there's a biltong shop. We've stopped off there on the way down to deliver my furniture. So there must be a South African enclave in Hamilton as well.
Oh, I think so. I don't particularly talk. Yeah.
Going for the local knowledge. Actually, it's amazing how South Africans have kind of I was going to use the word invaded, but progressed themselves across New Zealand, even down in Plymouth, in a city of about 10,000 or so people. We have a biltong shop down here as well. So it does appear that biltong has sort of spread its claws into New Zealand culture, getting that way. So in most towns now seem to have a biltong shop,
and that's a good way to get your protein intake, to get your muscle build.
That's it. You see, if I was on the old biltong, I would be big and butch and stacked just like Carlos Spencer still is. Anyway, Andre's given us the lowdown. Apparently, they all stay in Cambridge. So yeah, so Cambridge is where the South Africans are at, down in Hamilton Way. So, but yeah, it is strange having this whole only two games in a round, and you've got to wonder why Super Rugby can't get their act together and have the games evenly spread out throughout the season.
I was just going to make the point. I forgot, now I've remembered, so it's good. The fact is that Super Rugby, I don't know whether they do this intentionally, but every now and then they have this 2 finalists from the year previous starting off the first round, have that happening. That's the way you start off a competition, is with the 2 grand finalists from the previous year starting off the competition.
Oh, so the opening round should have been in Christchurch, Crusaders versus Lions, having the return fixture.
It was Hurricanes, wasn't it? Was it Hurricanes and Crusaders last year? Or was it Lions and Crusaders?
God,
no, that's right. It's in Johannesburg.
Here we are trying to come across as rugby experts, and you can't even remember who was in the final last year.
Sorry. No, I blocked out last year because Crusaders won.
Dear. And there was me thinking it was the arrogant New Zealander saying, you know what, whichever team won that semi-final was going to win the final anyway.
No, just blocking it out. But that's the way you've got to start it off with a bang. So you should have the finalists from last year kicking off the competition.
Yeah, I think this soft start hasn't helped Super Rugby at all, and we're supposed to be have a new structure that everyone's supposed to be happy with. Everyone's supposed to be able to understand. And we've already got Mike going. Should the Jaguares and Sunwolves really be in this tournament anyway? We've talked about these 2 games that no one really, this side of the world, no one even sort of realised what was happening. So yeah, it's one of these things that we really need to. That I think that Super Rugby have missed a marketing trick yet again on how they've launched this, and it's all been a bit of a dab squib. Hopefully this weekend it will explode with a bang. So, what games and players are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing obviously how my Chiefs go. You know, Damien McKenzie, obviously, big role for him to fill this year. But Brad Weber as well. You know, first season as the senior halfback, and he's really confident in himself. So looking forward to seeing that. But also, the Blues. I mean, we always talk about it, don't we? Are they going to get up this year, or are they going to just, do what they usually do? And I think that, yes, they lack a wee bit of depth to their squad, but guess what? So do the Highlanders. So do the Chiefs. So do, the Hurricanes do. Maybe not the Crusaders, but I think the Blues are in a chance. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how that team gels, and if they can go down there and take advantage of a Highlanders team that is, going through a lot of change, behind the scenes and also within the wider squad.
Yeah, well, so as I said, I was looking forward to this weekend, and sort of think things are going along quite nicely for the Blues. And then we've had we're down to our third first five in the starting role with Bryn Gatlin. Not that he's not a bad player. We've lost a host of loose forwards. And on top of that, the Highlanders gave the Crusaders a whipping in a warm-up game. And that Crusaders side that played that warm-up game from the starting lineup that I saw anyway wasn't exactly a bunch of mugs. So, yeah, I'm a bit scared about this weekend, actually.
Yeah, you can't read too much into pre-season games. Having been to Ekatahuna for a pre-season game before, I can tell you that, that they are a bit of festival atmosphere. Players are just trying to get rid of some of the rust, and they're not getting full runouts. Even if you do see a lot of names there that you recognise, there's quite often 15 players on the bench, and the amount of rotation is just simply crazy. Because, partially, it's too hot to be playing rugby at this time of year.
Deja vu.
Did I say that earlier? Oh wow.
Yeah, deja vu. No, you just said it earlier.
So both of you guys are clearly all about New Zealand. Clearly, the other game on Friday night has got some interesting bits going on. Rebels versus the Reds. The Reds with Brad Thorne in charge. Be interesting to see how he goes as a Super Rugby head coach, as opposed to just a strength and conditioning coach. So that's a massive step up for him. The Rebels, are they going to? Do we have two teams that are trying to be one team, and therefore there's just a split camp? Can Wessels do his magic there? So I think that's going to be quite an interesting game between those two as well. I know Mike's wondering about whether the Sunwolves should even be here hosting the Brumbies, but it's going to be interesting to see. Jamie Joseph is obviously the Japan coach, has won the competition with the Highlanders. Can he go and improve the Sunwolves now? Players like Michael Leach and stuff have moved up there as well. So they're definitely strengthened from overseas as well. So can the Sunwolves will do their bit? And then that last game, and the one that Mike really, from an overseas point of view, was interested in, was the Vodacom Bulls. Cam Mitchell, who's said he is taking a youth approach. Can he actually transform that into results? Personally, I think it's going to be a 2 or 3 year project for them there. If as long as Mitchell doesn't upset too many people along the way, but I can't. I personally can't see the Bulls being that much of a threat early on.
Yeah, look, just going back to your Rebels and Reds, it's sort of like we're talking about the Stormers and the Lions, and can you read much into that game? And the Lions are, got it wrapped up, the conference over there. But it's just like, you look at the Rebels and the Reds, and it's just like, we haven't started the season. Is that the dance of the desperate? In the Australian conference. I mean, they got the Sunwolves. I forgot about the Sunwolves. But, geez, again, you can't read too much into preseason, but that's all we've got to go on. We know that the Reds are a severely rebuilding side with a novice coach and Brad Thorne. And then you've got the Rebels, who have gone around and bought half the force, and they got...
They did get...
They
have brought in half the force.
So, yeah, that game is... Oh, sorry. Yeah,
they have brought in half the force. But did you notice, have you seen the Rebels pre-season games? They had...
I didn't see... I saw a few, again, highlights. They
had something like 80 points put on them by the Waratahs and Brumbies in consecutive weekends. So they've been absolutely thumped in a couple of preseason games. Andre says the preseason games for me are like shadow boxing, meaningless but needed. And that's probably true.
That's a good description. Good description, that.
I think the other thing actually it's been good for is they do get out to Ekatahuna, they do get out to Meadsville. They do take these games out into the provinces. They don't worry so much about getting crowds and money. It's a time to spread the game around the country. I think for that point of view, it's also quite good for an opportunity for these people to get to see their stars in the flesh as well, because otherwise opportunities are few and far between to see these guys nowadays, because they only play in 40 to 30,000 seater stadiums.
Actually, you need to jot a note down. I think one of our discussion points in future shows will be, well, for the Kiwi ones anyway, is the fact is that where Super Rugby games are played in regular season.
Well, we are running ahead of time, so we can we actually have plenty of time to go ahead and run down that rabbit hole if you want to.
Well, I actually think that some of the way that the Super Rugby franchises run their schedule and where they play their home games is just plain shocking, tell you the truth. We'll start from the south. How the Highlanders can take the single game that's played in Invercargill and take it to Fiji. I know what's the point to sell Highlanders? We'll go to the other end of the country with the Blues. I have a season ticket to the Blues games, so I can't understand why we don't play at least one game a year up in Whangarei, and I'm talking regular season, not warm up. It's just crazy. Yes, it's nuts. They've got to take a game to Harbour, North Harbour, which is basically just 20 minutes away from Eden Park. But the logical one is to take it to Whangarei and put a Blues game up there once a season. And I, as a season ticket holder, wouldn't mind that. And I just think it's just some of the scheduling is just mind blowing for me.
I have to agree. But I don't think the Blues are even taking any games even to North Harbour this season.
No, they're not. Yay.
So all their games, yay. So all their games are Eden Park. It's just crazy. One up to Whangarei for the Blues. Give credit to the Chiefs because they're going to Rotorua for a game. Give credit to the Hurricanes who are taking one game to Napier.
Right.
The Crusaders, I think, are playing all their games in Christchurch, and as you say, the Highlanders are taking their only game that they play outside of Dunedin up to Fiji. Now, I get playing games in Fiji to grow the sport there, and in preparation for a Fiji Super Rugby side in 2021. But not taking one game to Invercargill is just a disgrace. To be honest,
disgraceful, absolutely.
And Andre says Whangarei is a lovely trip too.
Blues would stop giving games to Whangarei.
The Blues should take one at Whangarei.
I remember we going up there to watch the Blue Cheetahs. I don't know if I've done that. I mean, I went up there to watch Northland versus Hawke's Bay. I think it was last season during the Mitre 10 Cup. With Andre, actually, Andre and I took a road trip up there to see that game. And yeah, it was a great little trip up there and back again in the day. You don't have to stay over. It's not that far. It's definitely doable. Now, I know Mike's got to head off, so let's get through the predictions. And then you and I can, if you've got a good connection, because you've been cutting out, we can chew the cud over other things if we want to. But let's go into the predictions then. Highlanders versus the Blues.
We're going to go to the Blues by probably about 5. Yep.
Wow. Mike, where have you seen that come from?
I'm going.
I think the Highlanders just changes happening in that side, and yes, there are some of the Blues too, but I just think that the impact, as much as I criticise them, the impact of the likes of Sonny Bull has on that team, I think will be telling, and I just Highlanders are good starters for me, so I think the Blues will get up.
Yeah, Blues by 10 for me, but only because I have a season ticket to the Blues and I'm a Blues supporter and I'm wearing a Blues hat. I have no rationale behind my decision.
So I've got a Blues t-shirt on. By the way, play Pump for prizes. You can win lots of free stuff. It's free. I'm not getting paid to say it. I've already won a phone cover and a bucket hat. So hey, yeah, get in there and play Pump for prizes. You can win all sorts of prizes if you're in New Zealand. So I'm wearing a Blues jersey, and I'm going to go Highlanders by 10 because hey, Ben Smith is coming back off his sabbatical. He's raring to go. As far as I'm aware, Aaron Smith, Sopawang, and Naholo, they're all fit, and when they've got their All Blacks fit, the Highlanders are a match for anybody. Yeah, the Blues aren't anybody. The Blues are a bit less than anybody. So I'm going to I'm backing the Highlanders by 10. That intriguing one, I've forgotten how you put it, Arshwin, but basically the
Dance of the Desperate.
Dance of the Desperates, Rebels versus Reds. How do we see that one going?
Sorry, the Rebels. Reds?
Rebels versus Reds. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to Rebels. Rebels by 10.
Reds are going to smash them.
What?
I'll go Reds by 15.
Wow, I'm going Rebels by 5.
You just told me that the Rebels got 160 points in 2 preseason games.
They did, but that's just preseason. So hey,
preseason.
Yes. So as Andre says, guys, you're confusing Super Brew punters all big time. We are, and that's the whole point. We're giving you different opinions. Rebels by 5. I'm sorry, but the Reds, they're just too young and too inexperienced.
I have one comment on that. Would you want to face Brad Thorne after putting in a bad performance and going in and facing Brad Thorne after the game? I don't think so.
Yeah, but at least you can turn around to Brad Thorne and go, look, Brad, I didn't get caught with Xanax. I'm not Mitchell Hunt. I'm not dragging you through the papers for taking drugs.
Yeah. True.
How someone gets arrested for possession of cocaine and then gets off on lack of evidence, I really don't know. But anyway, that's a strange one. We then head over to Japan for Sunwolves versus Brumbies.
Brumbies by about 58.
Whoa, Mike going big. I'm going Brumbies by 15. Yes, they did lose by 80 odd points to the Hurricanes, but the Brumbies are not the Hurricanes. Arshwin?
Yeah, I'll go Brumbies by about 20. I think the Larkham back in the mix with the Brumbies. You know, you've got Leafano obviously making a comeback as well. So, you know, he's the amount of experience and the control that he'll bring to that Brumbies side and get up against the Sunwolves. As long as you sort of shut down their helter-skelter rugby, I think you win it easy.
Yeah, Larkham's left, by the way. Larkham's no longer the coach.
Oh, oops. I thought he was still in the background. Sorry, my bad.
No, he's with the Wallabies now as attack coach.
Ah, right. Yes. And
I've gone blank as to who the guy who's taken over is. But Laurie Fisher is back there as an assistant coach. Yeah, it's strange when the assistant coach is more famous than the head coach. There you go. A bit like actually the Auckland this year with Henry's back as an assistant coach for Auckland in the Ice 10 Cup.
Yes,
Henry. Wow. I mean, hey, bring back the good times. Anyway, before we get too distracted, Crusaders versus Chiefs. Go on, this is your team, Mike.
I think the Crusaders actually. Chiefs have got a few injuries. Sean Stevenson out. Tim Nano-Williams gone for the year. But the one saving grace for the Chiefs is all their All Blacks are actually fit and available. So, but now I just think I don't think Damien's quite slotted into that 10 position. He's not quite comfortable there yet, and that's going to be really crucial. This backline is going to be really crucial to beating the Crusaders. So, no, I think the Crusaders are a real class act, and I think from last year, and that's going to flow on. So, going to go Crusaders by about, it'll be close by about 7, I'll say.
Altram?
Yeah, I didn't realise that Nano-Williams was out for the year. I'm a shock. He's such a big
shoulder.
He's an influential,
at least for Super Rugby anyway. So.
Yeah, he's just such an influential player for the Chiefs. I feel you saw how he influence the team. It was only the 10s, but just what he brings to the team. So I'm a bit of shock. But the Crusaders, I'm picking them. They'll probably go by 15 in this game, unfortunately.
Well, I'm going for the smallest margin. I'm going Crusaders by 5. But I think, we all agree on that one. Yeah, Tim Nano-Williams, I thought was, especially as he played fly half for Samoa during the end of year internationals, I thought he really could have been a wonderful player for the Chiefs this year. Unfortunately, he's off to Europe next year. He's another one leaving for Europe. So sounds like we've seen the last of him in New Zealand. Then we head over to Sydney for Waratahs versus the Stormers.
Waratahs, because they have to perform this year. All the Aussie conferences teams need to perform, but to me the Waratahs were atrocious last year, and they've got the talent to do a lot better than what they are. So I think just on that alone, if they don't make a statement first round against a South African team that traditionally doesn't travel very well, I think they're in for some problems.
Yep, I'm going Tars by 5. Again, you say poor travelling South African team. Ashwin?
Yeah, Tars. I'd be, they're in for a hard season if they don't go knock the Stormers off at home in the first game. They've got a long season ahead. So they really have to get up. It's not even a question of will they. They have to get up. Otherwise, by talking about writing teams off at the first game, you might be
right. Cool. Then we've got Lions versus Jaguares over in Joburg.
Lions by about 15.
Oh, you've been reading my notes. I've gone Lions by 15. They got up over the Sharks. The Jaguares lost to the Sunwolves. They lost the Storms. I can't see it any other way. Ashwin, how many?
Mate, I'm basically obviously with being the second round for those two teams, basing it a bit on last year's form. I'm actually going to pick the Lions by 30.
Whoa, you've gone big there.
At home, I have gone big. But it's a case of the fact is that we'll really find out, going back to our conversations earlier, we'll find out what this Jaguares team actually is. But I'm not hopeful the Lions could build their points differential.
Yep, and then finally, the Vodacom Bulls host the Hurricanes. Hurricanes by how many?
3.
Wow, that close. I've gone Hurricanes by 7.
Yeah, I think it's just I'll go with 7 as well. Simply because it is that first game over there at the High Veld. So 7.
Yeah, it's long travel. It's hot and that kind of stuff. Now, Mike, I know you got to dash off. So why don't you let people know how they can get in touch with you during the week?
Yeah, cool. So you can follow me on Twitter at Real Mike Pullman. I'll be on there tweeting about World Rugby this weekend, and I'll also be on a couple of your shows as well. So feel free to contact me on there, and we'll debate, no doubt, this season about my apparent disrespect for the Highlanders. So we'll get into that.
We will get into that in more detail. So on Thursday night at 8 p.m, we're going to preview these games in depth, Mike and I. So join us for that. Then so that's Thursday night. On Friday night, I will be doing a live post-game reaction to Highlanders versus the Blues with Steve from Cornflakes Crib. And then on Saturday night, I will be doing a live post-match review of Crusaders versus the Chiefs with Mike. Ashwin may drop in on a few of those as well. We'll have to see. How much his wife lets him get away from the kids and watch the rugby.
Yep.
Also, for those of you who are in the Northern Hemisphere, I will be doing a live post-match reaction to France versus Italy in the Six Nations, and also Scotland versus England in the Six Nations. So big game of rugby. 4 live post-match reactions from yours truly on YouTube. So do get involved with those. And as I say, on Thursday, that deep dive preview as well. Ashwin, how can people get in touch with you during the off week rather than the off season?
You basically just follow me on as NZ Fatso on Twitter, and I'll see you there.
Fabulous. Now, before we go, though, obviously, Mike, I know you got to dash off, but Ashwin, we've been asked in the live chat, what are the chances of the Brumbies winning the Australia Conference?
So what was the question?
You'd have to say they're the favourites.
Okay, it looks like Ashwin, we've lost your link, so we'll save that one for next week, and we'll have a chat about it then. But yeah, the Brumbies, you've got to say, are in a good chance of winning the Australian Conference. They've got a good coaching setup, good players coming back in Pocock and Leofano, even if Pocock's going to miss the start of the season, and they're just well organised, well drilled. The Waratahs, unfortunately, tend to be less than some of their parts. You've got the Reds, who are a bit of who are in a growth phase. The Rebels needing to bed in. So yeah, you've got to say Brumbies have got to be favourites to win that. So as I said, lots of shows coming up. Do watch those. Also, if you'd like to support Driving Maul, do pop down below and find the link to become a Patreon. I'll be doing you an exclusive Patreon show Wednesday, 8 p.m. New Zealand time. That's become a regular feature. So yes, if you want to get involved with those, you have to pay the cash. I'm sorry. Enjoy everybody watching this weekend, and catch you all next week.